What's up, everyone, and welcome into episode number 481, where it is my honor and privilege to introduce a special guest during this episode, and that is Michigan Dearborn pitcher Johnny Stavola. How are you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining. I know that you've been pretty busy recently. I know that you're kind of getting to the end of summer, kind of getting ready to prepare to go back to school. How are you feeling about that? Are you excited? Are you nervous? How are you feeling kind of getting ready to go back to school?
I'm definitely excited. I'm also a little bit nervous. We have a whole new coaching staff this year. It's huge, but I feel like it's going to be a big step for the program, and we're going to be able to do some damage this year.
Yeah, that's absolutely all right to be nervous. Obviously, having a new coaching staff is definitely a change, but there's a little bit of familiarity with the coaching staff as well because over the summer, your pitching coach is actually going to become joining you at Michigan Dearborn. I know you were with him for a little while. There has to be a little bit nice to kind of have some familiarity with at least the pitching coach that you'll be working with at Michigan Dearborn.
Yeah, definitely. Over the summer, we worked on a lot of things that essentially helped me dominate over the past summer, and I feel like he's going to be able to benefit to the rest of our pitching staff and not even just that, the rest of our team. He's going to be able to help out so much, and it's going to benefit us in the long run.
Yeah, and obviously you're working with you, and something that a lot of people don't know and you don't really see very common is your knuckleball pitcher. And you don't really see a lot of pitchers nowadays. You see people like R.A. Dickey. I know there's a couple other guys out there that throw knuckleball, but how do you kind of get started with throwing a knuckleball? Did you just randomly one day just start throwing it? Is it just something that you look at past pitchers and just realize hey, maybe I can do this? It's just not super common anymore.
Yeah, so when I was about 9, me and my dad were playing catch, and I just started throwing the knuckleball. I didn't tell him what I was throwing. It just came, and the instant he seen it, he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, and he said, "Don't stop throwing that. That's going to be your pitch." And we worked on it for so long, and numerous grips, numerous ways letting it out the hand. Finally, we ended up finding the most people will use 2 fingers. I use 3 or I use 4. I have 2 different grips that I use depending on what movement I want off of it.
How long does it take to kind of learn that, learn the correct way of having the way of holding basically the baseball? And is it something that you watch other people talk about?
I feel like for anybody that would take a decent amount of time, for me even, I still don't fully have it down yet. It's one of the pitches that I do have trouble with at times, but when it's on, it's on. It's just hard to let it out of the hand every single time the same exact way.
Yeah, which is absolutely understandable. And also having kind of that pitch that you don't see a lot of pitching coaches probably experience. Was it like working with pitching coaches on that kind of pitch? Is it like you just kind of tell them that you throw it and they just kind of give advice, or do they kind of just leave it alone because you don't see a lot of people throwing the pitch?
When I bring it up to pitching coaches, a lot of them really don't believe it at first. And then once I finally start throwing it, they're like, okay, you actually have a real knuckleball. And I've worked with a bunch. Like last summer, I worked with, his name's Greg Lukanen. He's playing in the American Association League. He loved it. My pitching coach is coming into Dearborn. He didn't. Normally, when people tell you they have a knuckleball, they don't have a knuckleball. And then when you finally see it, you're surprised.
Was he able to help you out a little bit, or do you kind of watch your own film? Do you kind of watch professional pitchers just kind of say hey, obviously you said there's different ways of gripping it. You kind of found your own way, but there has to be a little bit of trial and error throughout that process.
Yeah, 100%. I do watch a lot of my film. At least I try to, especially with the knuckleball more than anything else, so I can see what I'm doing wrong or what I'm doing right. But the Detroit Tigers, they have a pitcher in their farm system. His name's Kenny Serwa, and I've been keeping up with him since he was playing semi-pro ball and just watching his knuckleball develop. He goes on Instagram and he shows the grips and stuff and how he lets it out. And over the past year, that's helped me out a lot.
Do you ever reach out to anyone, or do you kind of ever talk with anyone that throws a knuckleball and kind of just throw it back and forth hey, try this, or is it truly one of those pitches that you can kind of take advice from video, but you can still kind of have to do what works for you because it's just such a different pitch.
Yeah, this past summer we were playing a team from Southern Ohio, and they had a kid throwing a knuckleball, playing long toss with it, and I noticed it, and we went out, we talked for about 35, 40 minutes, and it was crazy meeting somebody else that throws that pitch and has the same success with it. But then we have two kids at Dearborn that both throw knuckleballs, and we've all sat around, we've talked about it. You don't see it a lot, so we've all compared our grips and stuff. But I feel like most of the time, a pitch like that is going to be self-taught.
Did you like look up to like anyone? Is there anyone specifically that like really like made you want to become or at least try a knuckleball?
I was a Yankee fan, so this is crazy, but Tim Wakefield.
Okay.
Watching Tim Wakefield when I was growing up was one of the coolest things ever. He would make people look so crazy with his knuckleball.
That's kind of surprising. You don't see a lot of Yankee fans, or at least it's kind of like if you're a Yankee fan, like either you're a Yankee fan, Red Sox fan. I'm sure that you've probably gone through that rivalry a little bit. I feel like most people that are Yankee fans are from New York, honestly, but now you're obviously wearing a Detroit Tigers hat, so hopefully now you're a little bit more of a Detroit Tigers fan, but I'm sure you're probably still a Yankees fan too.
Yeah, I am. My whole family is pretty much Yankees fans.
How did that come to be? Like, how do you become a Yankees fan?
So we have a lot of family all around the world. Family in New Jersey, just stuff like that. And it's
Okay.
when my dad was younger, he fell in love with the Yankees, and it kind of just merged onto me when I was born.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely understandable. I feel like for you have to either be a Yankees or a Red Sox fan for the most part if you are one side or the other of the rivalry. So it's definitely obviously the biggest rivalry in the MLB, but I'm a Tigers fan, so unfortunately, I'm sure you've seen a little bit more success with the Yankees than the Tigers recently, but that's okay. But yeah, so obviously you kind of started out throwing the knuckleball at a young age, and one thing about like pitching at a young age that people talk about is obviously like don't try to ruin your like arm. Like a lot of people might say like, hey, don't throw like a curveball, don't throw breaking pitches, especially at a young age. But you started at 9 years old. Was there any really concern about like your arm with like the knuckleball, especially kind of that young, or especially going into like high school, or was it something that you just kind of knew there was a possibility there? It's just like it was just your best pitch and you just went with it.
Um, I would definitely say it was my best pitch, and we went with it. My dad did want me to avoid the sliders and the curveballs until I got into like high school because he wanted me just to have my fastball, changeup, knuckleball, so my arm wasn't getting any type of stress on it or anything at a young age. As I went into high school and stuff, I did start throwing the curveball and slider more, but it's always been predominantly knuckleball.
And especially at a young age, I'm sure no one's ever seen a knuckleball, so I'm sure if you could throw it for a strike, you probably got some interesting swing and misses.
Yeah, especially at like those like younger age groups, like 11U and 12U, they would just sit there and freeze. They never knew that anybody would just come out throwing a knuckleball, especially at a younger age.
And you probably still kind of get those reactions or maybe those interesting swings, especially in college. I think you got one or two at least in the summer league that you just went through. So like it has to be kind of still like pretty cool. Like does it ever get like used to it, or is it every single time you just kind of just sit there and try not to laugh for the most part?
I would definitely say I'm not used to it still. There's times where I'll watch a pitch go and it's just like wow. Like I don't know how that came out of my hand. Like when we were playing our first set of the year, I was pitching against a kid from Marshall and I threw him a knuckleball and he just froze and he just stared at me after I was walking off the field and he just stood in the box for like 2 minutes after he struck out and I was like I don't know how that came out like that.
So when you throw your knuckleball, do you try to throw it more for strikes, or do you try to kind of get it low in the zone so that when they swing, like it's not even close? Or does it just kind of depend on the situation?
I would definitely say depending on the situation. I am more for trying to make it move and float and wiggle around because that's like my favorite thing to watch is just hitters try to get on it, but they can't.
And obviously, on the other end of it, like catchers, like they have to try to catch your pitch. I'm sure that's probably some sort of conversation that you have to be had for the first time someone ever catching you is like, hey, I have a knuckleball. It might not necessarily move exactly the way that you think it might.
Yeah, we had a catcher this past summer. He's at Cal State now. He was surprised with my knuckleball because even he said, I've heard people say they throw it, but it does not move like that. And there was a couple I threw him this year that were really, really nasty.
How early do you know when you're throwing the knuckleball that it's on or not? Like, can you feel it out of your hand, or is it just so unusual that like even when you throw it and it feels good, like it still might not end up exactly where you want it to go?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's iffy because there's times where like it can float all the way out, or there's times where it'll float right back into the zone. So it depends on where my release point is, which is something I do want to work on this year at school. Because if I find my release point with it, I'm not gonna have the wild pitches with it as much as I have in the past.
It's probably more about making sure you have like the same like release point, same grip. Like I'm sure it's something that you can eventually like quote unquote kind of like control a little bit better, but it's also probably something that just takes so much longer to kind of get used to than maybe like other pitches that you might be able to get away with maybe not having the exact same release point. But I'm sure for a knuckleball, it's probably something that you have to have like almost exactly every single time if you want to have it the way that you want it to go.
Yeah, exactly. My curveball and slider, those maybe took me a year and a half, 2 years to like fully develop. They're both great pitches, but with the knuckleball, it's not that easy. Finding that right point is just it would be key because you would pretty much have one of the best pitches in your arsenal.
Yeah, and that's why one is probably not super common. And two, also like MLB pitchers, some of like the most famous like pitchers in the MLB. I know you talked about the Yankees pitcher, but like they're like Justin Verlander. You have also Treat Schoolball. Some of like the best pitchers in baseball don't throw it. So you see these guys throwing like 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, and most kids are going to be like, hey, I want to be like that pitcher. I want to be able to throw that fast, but you're the opposite. You're like seeing like these other pitchers that are throwing like knuckleballs that are going like 75, 80, maybe, and you're like, I want to be that pitcher.
Yeah, I definitely feel like a lot of people stray away from wanting to be a crafty guy on the mound. Everybody likes to try and throw 100 now. Everybody thinks that's like the way to go. I've came to the realization I'm probably not one of the guys that's going to touch 100, but I'll use my off speed to make it work and get you out.
Kind of like Tommy Canley a little bit of like he's not going to throw a lot of fastballs. He's going to basically just continue to throw off speed over and over and over at you, but it's almost like try to hit it. Like if it's on, like you can't hit it, and it's probably for the batter probably one of the most frustrating parts of it. You just continue to throw pitches you're so used to hitting 95, 96, but then if someone throws a 75, 80 mile per hour knuckleball at you that moves all over the place, I'm sure it's probably a completely different feeling for the hitter and for yourself than anything they've experienced, which obviously gives you a unique opportunity to kind of have a different approach when you come to pitching.
Yeah, definitely, because a lot of guys they try to use that fastball as like the dominant, but if you have something that moves that's off speed, a lot of hitters don't like that stuff, and that was something I've realized over the summer playing against a lot of Division 1 kids, and they were very, very uncomfortable seeing a 83 to 85 mile an hour fastball with a 70 mile an hour knuckleball that's moving. It was something that they weren't used to, especially coming off of a starter that's throwing 92, 93 miles an hour. It would just have them uncomfortable the whole entire time they were in the box.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a different like eye level. Like they're just seeing something completely different. Like it's one of those things like you're saying where it's going from seeing 95 to seeing slower pitches. You might think, oh, it might be a little bit easier, but guess what? Those quote unquote slower pitchers have more movement than the 95 that they're seeing. So like it might look easier, but then when the ball is moving all over the place, like it's just difficult, especially when you're hitting your spots.
Yeah, That's a, that's exactly how it is. I've met a lot of kids that think it's easier just to hit it because it's a slower pitch, but it's really not. A lot of times when you're seeing those, it's flat 90s. It's not having the movement that most pitchers will have if they're throwing in mid 80s.
Exactly, which obviously is something that you've learned. It's something that has given you the opportunity to pitch in college. And I really want to kind of get into a little bit more about like the knuckleball and like how you kind of realize like that was, I don't want to say your key, but that was a reason why you end up pitching in colleges because of obviously your knuckleball becoming one of your dominant pitches, your first go-to pitch. Like, is it something that you kind of like realize and it started to click that, hey, because I'm different, it's going to give me some really unique opportunities to continue to pitch after high school?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the schools I went and visited, not even just for the knuckleball. I was a short, whippy lefty, come out of a 3-4 arm slot. A lot of the schools I went to, they were very, very interested in it because they didn't have nothing like that. And when I made my commitment, I committed to Schoolcraft College after my senior year. I was half overarm and I was half submarine, which was a different experience, but I feel like that helped mold me into the pitcher that I am now, and it helped me develop a lot of stuff.
And you did say you went to Schoolcraft. You were there for a little bit. I know you've gone to a couple other schools really on your way to Michigan, Dearborn. When you kind of go into college with kind of like that different way of throwing, being a lefty, being again a knuckleball pitcher, do they like still like kind of like work with you a little bit on like the way you throw? Like, did they kind of like change the way you kind of through when you finally got to Schoolcraft, when you finally got to college, or did they kind of like leave you alone a little bit? Obviously, you're like the way you pitch has changed since then, but like, is it just like a gradual change, or was it something that you kind of changed pretty quickly after getting to Schoolcraft at first?
So yeah, my whole life I've been a 3/4 arm slot, pretty much sidearm. When I got to Schoolcraft, we had a pitching coach come in and he told me I would look good submarine, but I didn't want to fully commit to going straight submarine, so I was going half and half. I really feel like that messed me up when I first went to. I transferred to Spring Arbor out of Schoolcraft, and I feel like when I went back to Spring Arbor, I tried to consistently go overarm, and that did mess me up a lot. I lost a lot of my control. I lost all my velo. I really didn't have it anymore. All I had was the knuckleball anymore. That did help me out, but it was hard trying to find myself again.
Yeah, when you're going through those struggles, like how mentally challenging is that? Like when you're changing, obviously, like the way you throw, but also you kind of like you said, you did lose yourself a little bit. Like all you had that is that knuckleball. Is there like a point where you start kind of like questioning yourself, like, can I even pitch anymore? Obviously, mentally, like that kind of effect that it can have on you is just huge.
So yeah, after that, when I first had transferred, I was deemed ineligible, and that was when everything started at Spring Arbor. And the mental game of it is really what ate me up and gave me the yips. I had the yips for over a year. I couldn't find the zone after that. My whole entire mental part of the game was just gone. I had no mental imagery. I wasn't thinking about things. I was just throwing to throw, and I definitely feel like that is a very bad downside is you have to have your mental clear in order to perform. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your mental's gone, then you're not going to perform.
What changed? Like, obviously, it took a while to kind of get there. It took over a year. Was there something like that just started to click? Was there like an individual that like kind of helped you kind of get on the right track after that? Or was it more of just kind of like finding yourself again and then kind of like the mental part of it really started to kind of click?
I would definitely say there's a lot of it that delves into it, but kind of just having it click in your head that it doesn't matter if people don't believe in you. It doesn't matter if they think that you're going to be good. It matters what you know that you're able to do, and that was what clicked in my head. Is I told myself that I wasn't good enough. I told myself that this was going to be it for me. I was going to stop playing, And then it finally hit me that that's not what I should do. I have talent. It's not something I should just give up. And then the motivation clicked and I found it again. And then I ended up making my way to Dearborn. And that's where everything's just started to set like the tone for me. I've fully found it again. I've made my way out of it.
And that's one of the things that like a lot of people can say is like a change of scenery can be such a unique and cool thing that can really kind of bring you back to like the point of success. And it really seems like for you at Michigan Dearborn, that's kind of like where it really all started, where your confidence just started to grow. Like, why did you want to go to Michigan Dearborn? And did you even think like a new scenery was maybe something that might kind of restart your confidence?
Yeah, definitely. I had a very close connection with the pitching coach that was at Dearborn. He coached me since I was 15, 16 years old. He was my travel ball coach. It was a lot of talk, it was a lot of thought, but the change in scenery I definitely say helped me. Going from an environment where I felt nobody believed in me, I wasn't getting the opportunities I deserved, to make a move to somewhere that was going to do that for me. And in a span of me being there, I felt trusted by my team. I felt trusted by my coaches. I felt like I was myself again.
Which absolutely is key, is about feeling kind of like one where you belong, but two is having that trust and having that coach that really believes in you and having that coach that is so used to coaching you as well. Like this is a coach that is familiar with you, and also at the same part it's also a coach that knows like what he's working with. And I feel like that's another key part is that you've worked with him in the past and you've had a few years with him. So there's that familiarity with like, hey, maybe you've changed too much. Like, let's kind of go back to what you were doing prior.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just having the connection with him from like the start of our conversations when I first brought up transferring, it was kind of a set move once I fully talked to him because I knew that he believed in me. He knew the stuff I had, and I knew that once I'd make that move, I would start getting the opportunities that I should have been getting where I was at. And all of it was a huge help. We started myself an arm care program, pretty much fixed all the mechanical issues, and it's just been a clean slate from there. So making the move was a very, very good thing.
Did you ever consider going with him outside of high school, like right away? Or was it something that you never really considered too much?
Out of high school, it wasn't something that I thought about. It was his first year coaching, and I was already committed where I was at. So just like the thought of transferring at that point in time really didn't set in. I also thought that where I was at was where I wanted to be at for the rest of my baseball and college career.
Yeah, and it didn't work out, which is okay, but you obviously found your way to Michigan Dearborn, which I know that you absolutely love. Like, I know it's a team that you're really close with. Unfortunately, it's a new coaching staff. It seems like you're really excited about the coaching staff, especially with the pitching coach coming over with you. And we've talked a little bit about kind of like the mental challenges that you've gone through, but you've also have to get mentally and physically ready for like the games, right? Like it's important to make sure that you're just ready to go. Like for you, like how do you kind of like prepare for the games at Michigan Dearborn? How do you like physically, like mentally, physically get ready to like get going? Like is it like completely different going through that than maybe your other schools, or is it just kind of like the same like situation, same kind of like way you did things prior to kind of get that confidence going into every single game?
It was definitely a major change because I was maybe getting 20 minutes to get ready at my other school, so I really feel like it wasn't giving me enough time to mentally prepare myself. But when I had transferred over, we had sat down and we talked about it because I've always had mental keys when it came to pitching that would always bring me back. But yeah, we developed a new warm up routine, me and one of my close buddies that's a pitcher there. I'm a big music guy. I like to have my headphones in. I feel like that has helped me calm down, gets all the thoughts out of my head, and gets me ready to throw.
What kind of music is in your headphones when you get ready?
Um, it can change. Big hard rock guy, metal.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like He's like you're talking like ACDC, Queen, or if you're talking more of like kind of like metal with like trying to think of a couple metal bands that you would. I'm not huge into metal, but like what are a couple metal bands that you listen to?
Ones to get me ready for the game. Listen to a lot of Metallica, Pantera,
Okay.
Slipknot, just kind of stuff to get the blood flowing, getting me ready to go.
I was just going to say Metallica was really the only band that came up in my head, but I didn't necessarily know. But it's a great band. Love Metallica. Yeah, but just how's things been going at Michigan Dearborn? Like you talked a little bit about obviously having kind of a relationship with like friends there, having the pitching coach that you're used to. What was kind of like the transition like at Michigan Dearborn? Obviously, it seemed like it took you a little while, but it seems like you're in such a better situation than you've ever been, which obviously is a great thing.
Yeah, no, the transition was definitely a lot different. We don't have a lot of the facilities and stuff that other teams do, but from day one, I was brought into a family, and that's been my one key thing about it is everybody treats each other like family. We're all a group of brothers, and we all have each other's back regardless of what happens.
Do you think that made kind of like the transition a little bit easier having kind of that family buy-in, having that closeness with everyone? Because you did mention that you guys don't have the facilities as other teams have. Some people might look at that and say, hey, I don't necessarily want to go to that school because I want all the facilities. But then at the same time, there might not be that connection that the team has, which it seems like you guys at Michigan Dearborn has.
Yeah, I know. When it comes to stuff like that, I mean, I would tell people don't think about stuff like that. Go visit the school. Make sure it's a visit where you get to meet the team and the coaches all at the same time and look at the interaction that you get. I've learned that that's one of the key things when visiting a school because bad things can happen if you do not make that right choice. And finding somewhere that fits you rather than finding somewhere that you just want to go and play at is better because a lot of the times you want to go where the better fit is, so you're going to get to play, you're going to get to experience it the way that everybody should get to.
Exactly. And I feel like you've kind of gone through that. Like you've kind of experienced both sides of things where like your past schools, maybe things just didn't go as well, but now you're at Michigan Dearborn and you're loving it. You're getting the opportunity. You also, I believe, get to play at Michigan maybe a few times every single year, which I think is pretty cool, which I'm sure probably playing at Michigan and playing at that really nice stadium is probably pretty cool experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was my first time ever playing at the big house or playing in Ann Arbor. So that was a interesting thing. I did get to start against University of Northwestern Ohio there. It was fun. It was very cool getting to pitch on that mountain.
Is it a little intimidating pitching on that mound, or do you kind of just go out there and just kind of quote unquote imagine what it would be like to play there every single day?
I would definitely say at first it was a little intimidating because I've never seen a college stadium like that, and like it was huge. But yeah, I would definitely say after like that first half an inning, I was locked right in. I was locating very well, especially
I
against
was
a
just
very
gonna
good
say
team that we played.
I was just gonna say as a pitcher, like you kind of have to be locked in right away. Like you really probably can't afford to be like in like awe like of it. Like it's probably something that you can take a minute or two and just say, "Wow, this is really cool." But if that continues to happen, probably pitching might not go as well as what you want it to go.
Yeah, so before the game, when I was warming up, I was in the outfield talking to two of the outfielders from the other team, and we were all in awe. But we said once the game starts, we can't let it get to us. I mean, it's cool, but like we got to lock in and play.
Absolutely, which is obviously the most important part of it, but also being an athlete from Michigan Dearborn, I believe you guys get to still go to like the Michigan games. I'm sure that you probably have been to the big house. I'm sure maybe you've been to some Michigan baseball games as well. You still have that part of it, which I'm sure is probably cool being an athlete and still getting to experience that, even though you're quote unquote at Michigan Dearborn.
Yeah, so Even with us being at Dearborn, we have most of the stuff that the kids at Ann Arbor would get. Like we get discounted tickets to the football games, baseball games, that concert that's about to be coming up. We got discounted tickets for that. So I mean, just like the experience of it all. Even though it's University of Michigan Dearborn, it's still a great school. It's still a great experience.
Yeah, and also still great academics as well. You also still again get to compete against really great schools, get to compete against really great competition every single year. But you also this summer, like you mentioned, you got to compete against some great competition, some D1 athletes with the Michigan Monarchs. And I know that that was a little surprising to you, but like how excited were you when you finally got the news and just had that opportunity to compete against some of the best kids in the country?
So when I first got the news, I was ecstatic. When I first got into college, I wanted to play in a legit summer league. I always wanted to have it happen. And then when my coach sent me a text, he asked me if I wanted to play for the Monarchs, and I was like, yeah, of course. It was straight excitement. And from there, everything just kind of went smooth. My season was amazing. I finished with 24. I was 3-1 with 2 saves and a 1.9 ERA. It was it was different for me. That really helped me, and it's going to help me push my way into the fall and the spring next year because I know that I'm going to be dominant.
Yeah, it also helps you grow your confidence as well. We've talked a lot about confidence this podcast and like trying to get back to where you were and just kind of continuing to grow that. Like pitching's a lot of mental part of it is about having that confidence, being mentally ready. Obviously, some games you won't be on every single day, but it's when you're not on, it's about grinding, about finding your way through. I'm sure you've probably experienced plenty of those where maybe the pitches weren't exactly going where you want to, or maybe it just wasn't as great of a game, but you've grinded through it. But then you also have the games where everything's on, where it's probably like you're feeling where you're unhittable as well. Especially with that knuckleball. I feel like if that knuckleball is working the way it should, I feel like you probably again, getting back to the beginning, probably get some swing and misses that are pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, so definitely that was how my summer went. Like my first game of the year, I got player of the game. I got to do a post game interview, all that stuff. Second game went well, and then when we went to the third game, that was my first rough outing, and I tried to let it get to me, but my pitching coach stopped me. He told me you can't do that. You got to jump right back into it. Don't let this game get to you. And that's what I did. I think I had 9 appearances, and 7 of those were all scoreless. Only 2 of those games were my games where I let stuff get to me, and my mental just didn't pull over like it was supposed to.
And that's huge having a pitching coach that just kind of like sat you down and like talked to you and just saying like, hey, like don't let it get to you. Because if you don't have that coach, if you don't have that player, that teammate that does that, there's a real possibility it can get to you and then affect your next star and the next star after that and the next star after that. And you've kind of gone through that, but having a guy there that is there to help you kind of get through that mental part of it, I think is going to be really key and also a real reason why you succeeded as well as you did throughout summer. And I'm sure that's probably, again, like you talked about, something that you're really looking forward to in the fall, having him and kind of having him just continue to be there and having you like push you throughout like that mental and physical times that you're not performing as well.
Yeah, I feel like when you have a coach like that, it benefits everybody because a lot of these times, even in college, we make one mistake and it's just over for us. We're in our heads. We go up the next at bat, we strike out. We go back out on the mound, we walk people. When you don't have to worry about that and you clear it out of your head and you get right back to it the next play, and you have a coach that's there that's telling you to do that, it's going to benefit the team because we're not going to be as worried about the smaller stuff and we know we could still win a baseball game.
Yeah, because you said like you make one mistake pitch, you give let's say you give up a home run, like what's mentally going on in your head and then you also have maybe the pitching coach come out to you and like you're thinking like what's going on? Like when he comes out to you, like what does he typically say? Are you one of those pitchers that like it's more of like just a regular like conversation like a catcher comes out? Is it more of like a regular conversation? Are you wanting them to be pretty funny? Are you wanting them to be like focused on baseball? like what kind of pitcher, like when either the catcher or the pitching coach comes out to you, like what do they want? What do you want them to be saying to you? Like, do you want to be baseball focused, or is it just like a regular like conversation just to kind of get your mind back on track?
I would definitely say just like a regular conversation, something funny, because a lot of the times that's what like my catchers will do is they'll come out and they'll just make fun of me or something, make me laugh, and then everything's just clear from that point on. I'm not thinking about it. I'm too busy laughing.
Yeah, and then you also get laughs during the game when people swing and miss at your knuckleball as well.
Yeah, definitely.
When you get like that pretty bad swing and miss, do you ever just like actually laugh on the mound, or do you kind of have to control it a little bit and keep your composure? Like, I feel like that's probably pretty hard not to laugh. You might like smirk or smile, but it has to be one of the greatest feelings when you finally go through that.
Um, a couple times this summer, I did just laugh at him, or I would look at my catcher and I'd be like, "That was nasty." Like it would just come out because I'd watch the movement off of the pitch. It wouldn't just be just to say it. It would just be because the pitch was so nasty, and I didn't know like that would move like that.
That has to be the greatest feeling as a pitcher, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Watching somebody swing and sword on a pitch that nobody else throws, that's a really great feeling.
And, like striking out, obviously getting shut out, stuff like that's probably still up there. But like when it's just a complete swing and miss, or like when they like go down to like a knee after swinging and missing, I think that happened at least once when you were with the Michigan Monarchs. That's still, in my opinion, really funny. Obviously, it's one of those things where if you're the hitter, you probably never want to repeat it again or never want to think about it again. But for you, if you have video of it, you're probably going to be like watching that. Maybe not every single day, but watching it every once in a while, saying like, "Hey, like that was me that did it," and you probably want to show everyone else.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have watched that video a lot since that game. I threw that kid a knuckleball on a 1-2 count, and he went down to one knee and almost spun all the way around. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, which is awesome to see. You don't see it a ton of often, but I'm sure it's probably something that, like you said, you love to see. But I know that you've kind of, like we talked about, going through its ups and downs, but I know that you've been playing baseball for a really long time. Going through those ups and downs of your career in baseball, what has been the greatest lesson you have learned, and what do you hope to accomplish in the next couple of years?
I would definitely say don't give up, because if you give up, then you don't really ever get to see your true potential. And that's been one thing for me is I've been playing baseball for close to 20 years now. It started when I was 4 years old, and the amount of times I've told myself I wanted to give up, I didn't want to do this no more, and I pushed through it, it showed me that I was stronger than I was. And you kind of need that. You need someone to push that on you because a lot of days people are just trying to quit and give it all up when they have pure talent.
Yeah,
As far as the next couple of years, I would like to try and play independent professional baseball. I've done some research. I want to try and play in the USPBL here in Michigan. There's the Pecos League in the western part of the US. There's a bunch of different leagues, and that would fully be my goal. My goal is to try and play in the Pioneer or the American Association League, so I can just at least say I got in a couple of years of professional baseball experience.
yeah, you want to continue playing baseball. Like it's something that you've been doing for almost your whole life. And it's one of those things that if you have the opportunity to continue to play baseball, I know there's a few players from Michigan that end up going to play, like you talked about in those leagues. I believe there's a guy from Adrian. I believe there's a guy from Northwood now playing on the same team. Like if you get the opportunity to continue to play and kind of have that impact as well. I know that over the summer we did talk about Michigan Monarchs, but you also got to play in a different league, kind of like a men's league, and you finally got to play in like outfield, infield. You finally got to hit a little bit. I'm sure that was probably pretty fun, and maybe not necessarily your future, obviously because your future's in pitching, but I'm sure you probably would enjoy maybe getting an opportunity to hit once or twice if you do get the opportunity this next year, which I don't know if your coach would ever give you the opportunity, but it seems like you can at least hit a little bit.
No, yeah, I feel like this season I do have a pretty good shot. He has told us that he wants guys to get out of their comfort zone, And I've hit pretty well this summer. I'm hitting just above 330. I mean, it's a men's league. It's not like the craziest competition, but we got some pretty decent competition. Guys that are done playing pro ball, guys that just got done playing college ball. So it's not like the worst competition. It's a pretty decent league.
If your coach gives you the opportunity to play in the field, where do you hope he would put you? Like, where's the one or two spots that you're like, I want to play?
I definitely say somewhere in the outfield. I'm pretty fast and I'm good at tracking down fly balls, either center or left field.
Hey, then you can show off your arm as well. No, that's awesome. Hopefully, you obviously get to have that experience. But I really want to kind of wrap up with one last question. Obviously, we've talked a lot about just like the mental part, just kind of like your whole obviously experience. But for any athlete that's listening, what advice would you give to overcome like the mental side or like overcome kind of like the down parts of their career? Because athletes are going to experience ups and downs. It's about how you respond when you're kind of down. And it seems like throughout your career, how you responded has obviously got you to where you are today and has gotten you to grow your confidence. And it seems like you're really excited, which is obviously a great thing. But you're someone that has gone through a lot, to say the least, and you're still going. You still love baseball, and you had a great summer, and it sounds like you're going to hopefully have a great fall.
Um, I would definitely say don't let people try and take the love that you have away from the game. There's going to be people, there's going to be other teammates, there's going to be coaches that are going to try and take that away from you. The one thing you can do is don't ever let them take your love away from the game. Always remember why you did it in the first place. Remember the kid on the little league field that just started playing baseball. You got to think about the things that made you happy when you first started playing because that's what's going to push you in the end. That was one of my big stepping stones was I had to look back and think about why I did it in the first place because I fell in love with the game and it was something that I wanted to do. The one thing you can always do is like you said is just got to keep pushing. It's going to get hard. People are going to tell you you're not good enough. People are going to tell you you're too small, you're too short, you're not muscular enough. But in the end, anybody can do it. You just got to push yourself.
Yeah, it's that self belief, but it's also kind of finding, again, like you said, finding the love of the game again. And that's why baseball is considered a kid's game. Like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, obviously, everyone still goes through struggle, but like, it's about finding that fun. It's about finding that love for the game. And it feels like you're finally finding that again, which I'm very, very happy to hear. And it definitely seems like it's obviously motivating you. I know this upcoming year you're really excited about, which I know that hopefully, again, like I said, you're going to have a big year. But I really appreciate you joining the podcast. It's been a ton of fun. I do wish you the best of luck this year. I think you're going to have a great year. Would love to possibly get you on the podcast again. Anyone that ever joins, I would love. I always say, anyone that ever joins, you're more than welcome to come on the podcast again. Absolutely no pressure to do so. But yeah, just really want to wish you the best of luck for this year. Best of luck in the next couple of years. Hopefully, you do get to achieve some of your dreams of continuing to play beyond college. But I know you're going to do great things, and really hope this was worth your time, and really hope you had fun.
Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure to be on here. I had fun.
Absolutely. And that is a wrap to episode number 481. Thank you again to Johnny for joining and tune in to the next episode.